Allison. I'm the founder and chair of the graduate program in ecology, spirituality, and religion here at CIS. And we have developed these religion and ecology summits to build our cohort of people that we can be in dialogue with, so that it's not just the graduate students and the faculty at CIS, but that we expand our interlocutors. So thanks so much for coming today to take part in the conversation. The goal of today's summit is to open dialogues around gender and environmental justice that cross boundaries between disciplines and traditions and between academia, policy, and activism. We're trying to integrate scholarly work with academic practice and strengthen community practice through this integration. And I'm grateful for the number of distinguished speakers who have offered their time to share their insights today. We have just a really thrilling lineup today. We'll explore ecofeminist and eco-womanist thought and the leadership of women in the environmental movement. We hope that you will meet new friends, colleagues, and collaborators. Part of our idea is to build a network here that together might amplify our shared work at the intersection of gender, religion, and ecology. To address the increasingly urgent challenges of climate change and biodiversity collapse, and I just read this morning a new paper in Science says that if current trends continue in the oceans by 2048, there won't be any fish. If current trends continue. Okay, so it's not, guaranteed, but like that's how bad the current trends are. So you're here. Our work is urgent and needed, and we need integrated and holistic approaches that transcend boundaries between scholarship and activism, that bring together faith traditions with science and policy. So in some of our promotional material about this conference, we said, what does Me Too and Time's Up have to do with religion and ecology? We thought it was kind of a provocative question. And I want to give you my preliminary answer or thoughts in a few minutes here, just to provoke our thinking around this intersection of gender, religion, and ecology. When we started planning this summit last summer, we thought of looking at eco-feminists and eco-theologians who had inspired us, the planning team. And we had no idea that we were going to be noticing a fundamental ground shift in how behaviors between men and women are seen in the workplace. As the months ticked by, it became increasingly clear that things were shifting and that the floodgates of years of pent-up frustration and pain were bursting open. And grievances about sexual harassment and assault came pouring forth over the summer and fall. Women and people of all genders across the country were saying, Me Too, and Time's Up. What does this have to do with religion and ecology? Well, I suggest that giving voice to these assaults and insults in a way that was so powerful and so morally clear and was finally heard. I mean, none of this was new, but somehow it finally caught public attention. I suggest that we are seeing this kind of moral clarity and blunt outspokenness coming to the fore in our time. And we see it with the high school students speaking out about gun violence and being heard, again, in a way that hasn't happened before. We've known this is a problem, and somehow we've just said, no, that's business as usual. We can't care. And so what I want to suggest is that this same moral clarity and blunt outspokenness needs to come in support of the assaults and insults that are affecting our earthly home. And I suggest that one of the differences in these current moments of speaking up is a change in caring. And that maybe a care ethic is arising. Caring, the effective emotional and physical labor of taking care, has often been coded as female and accordingly denigrated. But I think we're seeing a change in that right now. And caring is by no means a gender-linked trait. Everyone can care, and everyone, I think, is starting to care. I also want to suggest that this is an act of defiance in the current neoliberal capitalist system that is arrayed to block and dissuade caring. So the kids speaking out about gun violence, they're saying our lives are more important than guns, right? Right? I mean, shouldn't this be obvious? But the capitalist system is saying, well, so I don't think I have to convince you on this. But what I'm talking about as far as defiant acts of caring is valuing our present and future relationships between and among individuals, groups, and nations, as well as extending that to the more than human world. The quality of these relationships, the degree to which they are invested with reciprocity and relationality, the degree of attention, kindness, and concern that is brought to them, these are all aspects of an ethic of care. The ways in which we can honor what is unique and valuable and irreplaceable in each living being, and call attention to the rapidity with which we are depleting irreplaceable species, like the fish I just spoke of, whole libraries of evolution, creativity that took millions of years to generate and can never be replaced once it's gone. So bringing an ethic of care to that. Feminist thinkers like Nell Notting and Maria Puig de la Bellacasa, who's written a marvelous new book called Speculative Feminist Ethic of Care, they elevate caring activities that women are socialized to do to a place of value and privilege in constructing an ethic. De la Bellacasa writes, care is the concrete work of maintenance. So care, therefore, is central to any ethic or practice that would maintain and further the flourishing of Earth. Of course, many of our foremothers in the environmental movement, like Ellen Swallow Richards and Rachel Carson and Lois Gibbs and Sandra Steingraber, to name only a few, embody that practice of care, as do plenty of men. But what I'm proposing is to make this ethic of care and this care work more visible and more valuable, which I think is happening in the Me Too movement and in the anti-gun violence movement. Rather than having an ethic based solely on rational calculation or cost-benefit analysis or some kind of hierarchy of value, a feminist ethic of care suggests that we owe special duties to those that we have special relationships with, and that these close relationships are epistemologically and ontologically significant. No man is an island, wrote John Donne, but even more significantly, no person is self-created. We all arise, to use the Buddhist terminology, through interdependent co-arising. The conditions, including our social, economic, political, material, and ecological conditions, create us. So of course we would care. Of course we would care what kind of soil we're growing up in. We would care how the sunlight affects us, whether we are getting enough water, what is in our food. Even as prevailing forces in society would tell us that these factors are insignificant and should not concern us. So I'm suggesting that this kind of caring is an act of defiance, defying the status quo, defying the jaded cynic who's seen it all and knows it ends badly, defying the starry-eyed optimist who knows that we don't have to do anything because God or the Democratic Party or Bernie Sanders or the kids from Parkland will save us. Caring means to be touched, perhaps to be emotional, Perhaps to feel sad or angry or enraged when we consider the trajectories of social and environmental indicators on Earth right now. Perhaps to feel energized and optimistic when we consider the tremendous gifts and riches and tools we have to create the world we want to live in. Caring certainly means feeling, which isn't always pretty, and it isn't what much of the dominant culture encourages us to do. We have myriad tools to suppress and repress our feelings. Whole shelves of liquor, dispensaries on every corner, binge-worthy TV, a chaotic administration and disarray, the distractions of the breathless news media. But to enter into feeling our care for ourselves, for one another, for our loved ones, for our sacred sites, built and natural, for our companion species, for the self-willed wild species, and for the whole beautiful world, can erode the cynicism and distraction and bring a clear-eyed view to the current situation and the tools we have for addressing it. One very concrete way we can extend our care to other beings is to ensure that food animals live more comfortable lives. Prevent Cruelty California is a current advocacy movement that includes the Humane Society, Animal Legal Defense Fund, Mercy for Animals, and the Humane League that is working together to qualify an initiative for the November ballot that would end the extreme confinement of 3 species of animals on factory farms: breeding pigs, egg-laying hens, and wheel cows that are currently kept in cages too small for them to move. So this new law, if it gets on the ballot, would require cage-free housing instead, and would apply here in California and for everything sold into California. So it's historic and has far-reaching implications. Patsy Northcutt is right there, next to the beautiful sign with a pig on it. And Patsy worked with Brian Swim and Marilyn Tucker on the Journey of the Universe film. And she's also involved in this Prevent Cruelty California campaign. She's here gathering signatures to get this initiative on the ballot so the voters can consider it. They need 600,000 signatures by April 23rd. So it's really all hands on deck to get this on the ballot. So please consider taking a moment to sign the petitions over here with Patsy during one of our breaks or lunch. So that's one super concrete way that we can care. As we discuss the connections between gender, religion, and ecology, we can bring attention to the particular contributions of women and the intersectional nature of all oppression, and bring this sort of blunt outspokenness and moral imperative of caring that we've seen rising up in other contexts. Amplifying our voices together makes them heard. I think it's like a chorus of frogs or a chorus of crickets that if you just have one or two, they're pretty quiet. But when you get a whole bunch of frogs in the springtime, it can be deafening. So here we are together today with a whole lineup of engaging speakers. And I hope you will use this opportunity to consider how you can extend your work, whatever great work that may be, along with feminists advocates care.